cry my way through this. I'm prepared. So perfect. As usual, we don't coordinate these things, but somebody does. I'm not naming names yet. So my incredible husband and I, he goes, we just got back from the most amazing trip of a lifetime. We got to do a road trip to Arizona, New Mexico, all in there and back, and it was 2 weeks long. And it was so different on so many levels from any other vacation or trip that we've taken. First of all, I had retired, and so I didn't have that. I'm a work hard, play hard kind of gal, and so I didn't have that first 3 days of coming down from before I could really let it in, you know. So I found that first day we were driving along, and I'm like, I'm so relaxed. Why am I so relaxed? Like, I'm so chill. Why is this so different? And I realized there was nothing to let go of first or anything. And so we were just enjoying the beauty of the trip. We called my daughter, we called my brother, we called people along the way and had these lovely conversations, told them what we were seeing, just, you know, the nice fullness of life kind of stuff. And I noticed that as different from when we've done trips to the east, as we went to the west, every 50 miles or so, the terrain changes. And so my phrase that I must have uttered 1,000,000 times on this trip was, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Oh, look over there. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Oh, look over there. And one of the things that I've often thought is how incredible is it that not only are we given all this beauty, all this natural beauty, but you realize we had to be wired to be able to perceive it as such. That there's something in us that innately responds to that beauty and that life in all of its different forms. And isn't that a great God that not only gave us the beauty, but gave us the eyes to see? Once again, the free will. Are we lifting our arms up? Are we lifting up and accepting that gift? One of the other things I've noticed about myself on trips is I would go and I'm like, I want to see everything. I see all the art. I notice every tree. I notice, oh my goodness, look at that person. Aren't they interesting? And when I get home, I have some residual of that. And I'm like, ooh, I never saw that before. And I'm where I live, you know. And so can we engage that curiosity and that vision more on the day-to-day basis? So these are some of the little notes I'm taking in my mind, and we're moving along and moving through just some incredible experiences. Just every step of the way, each part of the journey unfolded like magic to me. I had my little journal and I went, I'm gonna be up all night if I try to write down everything I saw today. So I'd do like a quick little thing and go, we went here and here were the highlights. And I just kind of bullet point, driving through the desert, singing 80s songs with my husband, you know, it's like, you know, just fun little things. And we're like just marveling over life and being playful. We're very goofy together. So like he was really, he's like, what is she gonna tell? So we're driving along and there's like all these he likes the cactus, you know, I can't pronounce it. Maybe someone can tell me. It looks like saguaro. And when you, how do you pronounce it? Saguaro. I don't think there's a hard G in there when you say it. Anyway, those are the coolest. And so we're driving through. There's all these like plains on as far as the eye can see, and just little ones, almost all relatively the same size, dotted through there. And we're driving along. We're just goofy. And I go, Mandy, they're all looking at you. And all of a sudden, it transforms, and it just looks like a bunch of prairie dogs that are just standing there, sentinel, as we're driving past. And I'm like, you know, that's just a point of how you experience life the way you want to, right? So we're each in our own reality, and now I will forever see them as little prairie dogs in my head. So it's just, we're playing with life. We're having a wonderful, joyous, joyous time. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, about owning that experience, that this isn't just something I'm reading a book and I'm flipping through and I'm experiencing something vicariously. It's like, this is real. We would look at something beautiful, mountain, and go, we're here. That's real, you know, and take it in and just own it, that now I belong to that. It belongs to me. And I'm different because I got to witness this. I'm different because I saw that. And we would say, people live here. Look, there's a house there. They live there, you know. And just the wonder of the beauty, and to come home and say, Anne, can I use that vision here? Can I use that vision here? So you can see how it was kind of evolving for me, this whole experience. And just a fullness. And I always think that when something big happens in our life, that we will change. We get to say how. So I'm taking all these elements of delight and whimsy and the beauty and the wonder and the praising of God and this creation and how did this come together, and this was millions of years in development, you know, all of these, the wonderment, the awe, and truly embracing the awe of life. And I'm getting to be an age where, you know, we've lost a lot of friends. We've, you know, like I said, I just retired, so I'm kind of going, oh, this is a little different, you know, kind of a thing. And so, but what the message for me has been is to really cherish and live each day. I've been enjoying the heck out of, you know, Randy and I feel great about our relationship, but it's been really fun to have more time with him and expand on that, right? So you're appreciating every day. And just so as we were in that mode, I felt so grateful that it lined up with the trip. You know how sometimes, for me, especially when I was at work and having to take some time to unwind when I would go on a trip, I would enjoy almost as much in retrospect. And I still, you know, think we should do that, just keep enjoying and savoring those memories. But I wasn't fully present for all of it. This time felt different to me. I kept grounding in it and just soaking it in and loving on it and just getting a kick out of it. And we were in Sedona. One of our other little stories to tell you is we're on a tour in Sedona, and our kind of metaphysical but tongue-in-cheek kind of guy that was giving us the tour, he was awesome. So he's telling us various things. He goes, Sedona's weird and wonderful. You know, it's beautiful, it's weird, and it's wonderful. And so he said, you're going to find every extreme here, you know, and you just, you know, people. So he said, some people will want to drive you up to a vortex and convince you that if you stand there long enough, lightning will strike you and you will become enlightened. And he said, he goes, I do believe there's an energy around the vortexes. And he said, I think it's an energy that embraces the whole place, all of Sedona. And he said, he made this comment, he said, strange little coincidences that are unexplainable tend to happen here. Well, he was saying this while he was driving us up to this one location, this gorgeous church that was so picturesque, more the view even around it than inside the church. So we were up there, and we have this little stuffed monkey that travels with us. We're very silly, I'm sorry. It's just this thing. And there's this backstory to the monkey, but the bottom line is the monkey goes a lot of places and has very great pictures, okay, from the journeys. So we went up to this one location, and we're sitting there, and we're posing the monkey for the best picture of the whole trip, I think, with everything in the background. And there's a little wall, and there's these two ladies sitting there, and they're going, okay, what's happening here? I don't really understand this. And they go, okay, there's the story. What's with the monkey? You know, so we tell them, oh, he's our travel friend, and blah, blah, blah. We tell them the story. And they're like, we love that. We're kind of goofy, too. Can we take a picture with the monkey? So one of our favorite experiences was meeting these people. They posed with the monkey, and we sent them the pictures and all. So they get up, and they're like, we're introducing ourselves, and I go, well, that's Randy, and I'm Deborah, and their jaws dropped. And they said, we're Randy and Debbie. And two ladies, you know, Randy with an eye, Debbie, and they go, okay, what's the name of the monkey? And she goes, my maiden name was Hope. So we go back to the guy, and we're like, here's the story, and he goes, that's Sedona, right? So, you know, and we've all had experiences like that in our lives. But I'm just saying it was wonderful just to have fun, enjoy. You know, you're seeing things in the rocks like shapes that you would see in the clouds, just really embracing every moment. We did museums, we did just all kinds of adventures. It was just beyond, it's very hard to explain what was happening in us, and journeying together and having that time and being little nomads for a while and all of this. And then we went to Carlsbad Caverns and had that experience of going, if you've not done that, way underneath. It's just like a magical, under different fairyland kind of, just a completely different experience, right? So we're all of this beauty. We went to bed that night. We're on like day 12, I think, of the 14-day journey. And we're in the hotel, and 4:30 that morning, I get a phone call that my brother has unexpectedly passed. And as you, all of a sudden, you can imagine the energy we were in, and then it's like, what? How is that possible? And so the shift and the feeling, but not a shift exactly. This is what's happening now kind of a feeling. What I discovered, and that's a whole other story that he deserves explanation, because was an amazing individual, is that all that I was containing, being so present and practicing being present, suddenly I had somewhere to contain that. Does that make any sense? Like I had some place to hold that in sacred space right away. This was true, and this was true at the same time. So, to your point, you were talking about every rain, you said it right before you did the thing, and I'm, again, it's not just Sedona, right? So, and it's like, this can be true at the same time. I can be really sad. 1,000% clear that my brother was in a better place. That man had so much pain, and he had beautifully, I just have to, as a side say, he had tied up so many loose ends in his life before he passed. And he had been ill a long time, but this really wasn't expected. It just happened. He just apparently had a heart attack or a stroke or something, and he just went. But left on the best high I'd ever seen in his life. He was the happiest he had ever been. He felt purpose. He was blessing people. He was walking through life with his head held high. And that was so an incredible thing to witness. And I can't go there emotionally too far right now, or I won't be able to talk to you. But his life story in and of itself is such an example. This was someone who really reached out and blessed people on a daily basis. He would walk where others fear to tread, kind of thing, He would befriend that person on the street. He would sit down in a coffee shop and look for the lonely person and go sit with them and talk to them. And sometimes take people into his home. This is this connectedness that I speak of here, this is a man that knew the hard knocks of life. And he knew how to love deeply at the same time. And I think the tough part about life on earth is this sense when we get into spirit of thinking we have to deny all of that sorrow when it comes, or that somehow if I still enjoyed the last drive as we came, the last 2 drives that took us to get home, that I was somehow not honoring my brother. The sadness was sitting in that car with us, but at the same time, we could still enjoy beauty. And that was, they can live, they can coexist. And I think that, for me at least, where I tend to think too linearly, I don't allow this, or haven't allowed the space for them to coexist peacefully. That I can be in this, I can be in that. I posted this thing a few days after I posted about him passing. And it was the perfect meme that I found. It was this little video of a baby who was crying. And then, just that, how they just pout with their whole face. And they're just with the tears just coming down, and then somebody made them laugh, and they're like, ha, 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 ha. And then the second passed, and they're back into the tears. And they went back and forth between this about 3 or 4 times, and I went, I think they said, oh, there's something about when you're trying to put on a happy face kind of thing. And I said, this is me right now. I'm not trying to put on a happy face. I'm just feeling everything at the same time. So I can go over here and go, oh my gosh, what happened in Sedona? Or I can go over here and go, oh my gosh, my brother. And it's all happening. It's moment to moment, and allowing the space for both to be true. Now, it's not, I know the truth of my brother. I know the grief is me missing him already, me missing what not having him in my physical life will be about, and knowing from losing other people kind of what the journey is going to look like a little bit, and that's not fun. And I know that. But at the same time, you notice the blessings. You notice the people just saying a kind word that makes all the difference in the world. This one was amazing yesterday. And just everything in those moments, just noticing kindness, which leads me into something of how we're so interconnected. And part of the thing I noticed in this great big, amazing experience of nature that we had was, just thinking about how we tend to separate ourselves from the animal or physical kingdom of this planet. Somehow, here's nature, and here are humans over here somewhere. I don't know where, but we don't see it as a whole. We don't see how much we are a part of everything and how interconnected we truly are and how divine order is working through it, just like the seasons know when to change and the flowers know when to come out. Well, there's all that is moving in and through us, and it's only when we resist that will of God, when we're not opening our hands and our arms to it, that struggle occurs. Like my daughter to me famously said, struggle is optional. It's like, ooh, that's deep. I love that. So there are times, yes, it's going to be hard for me to climb something, but I'm going to do it anyway. I get there's different kinds of struggle. But some of it is optional. And as I did not resist grieving my brother as it's still going on, I'm not resisting it. I'm just letting it be an ingredient in this quite big bowl that I've expanded into. It's one ingredient of what's happening in my world right now. And that is not to dishonor him, especially if you knew my brother, because he absolutely would want everybody to be happy. He probably wouldn't even like it that I had black on today, and that was just because I like black. So, you know what I'm saying? But he would be like, hey, wear your colors, sing your song, your dance, And I can just see him doing a happy dance. He had physical issues that seeing him dance really lifts my heart. And that is the truth of his being. And this is me just going, I wish I could hug you right now. That's all this grief is. It's not me thinking, oh my God, some dark thing has happened to him. Light has happened to him. Light has happened to him. And I'm just here dealing with whatever shadows I perceive I'm going to experience in earth from this moment, right? And I know that wanes, and I know that there's that time where when someone says his name, the first thing you do is smile. I love that part of the healing process. When that person or that animal or whatever it is that you've lost, when that word comes up, when their name comes up, and the first thing you do is smile, you know you're getting there, in the healing process. And I love that. So to kindness, because this is what this man was about in my world. This is what I've experienced recently, is just those simple words. Like I read in the beginning, sometimes your 10 or 15 minutes in someone's world makes everything. I can point to times in my life where somebody said one thing that changed my course. When I was grappling with a decision, and they said something, and I went, oh, yes, that's it. That's where I want to go. Strangers even. That has happened to me. We do not know the impact. It said it in there too. We don't know the impact we have in the world. We just don't. So one of the things I wanted to bring up is Another experience, and I'll try to make this, because it's a beautiful, long story, and I'm going to shorten it for you. Aren't you glad? So the first part of it is, one of my daughters is on the autism spectrum. She's a delightful, fun human being. Brilliant, has her own way of moving through the world, and I just celebrate it. And when she was graduating high school, we're trying to figure out what in the world her next step needed to be. And I found this place that would take people on the spectrum, and they served right to their talents and their gifts, because so many of them are just amazing at technology, for example. So they were teaching them things on computer and, computer programming and art, and her thing is art and all of this type of thing. But the tuition was really high, and I was just not in a position to do this. But I just felt in my gut like she was supposed to be there. So we were at Unity of Dallas, and that was our home church at the time. And they did this lovely thing, which they had not done to that point, where they called all the graduating seniors up on the stage. And they were just acknowledging them, from the youth group, and they were doing, and so Sky's up there in a dress, which was the very last time she was going to wear a dress, and that was fine with me. And so I'm sitting we're lined up sitting in choir. I keep pointing to Deborah because she was there for all this. And so we were sitting in our choir spots, being ready to go up to sing for the final song. I'm sitting next to one of our friends, and they lean over when Sky is introduced. Says, "What does Sky do after this?" I go, I don't know. I know where she's supposed to be, but I don't know the how of it yet. And I believe God is the how of it. I just don't know how that's going to unfold yet. Well, that particular person goes to other people in our group, because we had a large performance group department, tells them the story. The next thing I know, they're coming to me and going, "Don't worry about her." And I'm like, "No, I'm centered. I think they're doing affirmations for me." And they're like, "No, we got something in the works." They ended up putting together a major fundraiser for my daughter. They had it at an art gallery. They had her works displayed. They auctioned them off. Somebody donated incredible frames. They framed her artwork. Somebody came and sang. Somebody played this. Somebody did that. And it became this huge, amazing event. And they funded her for 2 years to go to that place. Well, you can imagine the whole time, every time anything came up about it, I was in tears. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is how God works through us. See, I knew she was supposed to be there. I knew God was the how, even though I couldn't see it unfolding. And I point to that in particular because I don't always have that connection of knowing this is supposed to happen, and I'm going to step back and watch God say, "Hold my beer," And so it was just the most amazing thing to see, and it touched me beyond words. And it's the kind of thing where I filed in myself and I said, I want to pay this forward. I wish I could give this kind of experience to everyone, that they would know what it feels like for people to just rush in and go, "You know what? We got you." And so this has been one of my prayers, probably ever since then, maybe even sometime before. When I have a rich experience, I imagine, I wish everyone this feeling, in whatever form that comes up. I wish them this sense of healing. I wish them this sense of feeling taken care of. I wish them. I pray for them. I see them embracing love and accepting their good being given to them in marvelous ways that they can't even imagine, right? So I like to do that prayer. Fast forward, we had just a thriving performance department there. We did shows, we did musicals, we did incredible concerts, we did just all kinds of things, and we were family. And that group could go from 35 to 65 easily. It was just a nice group of people who loved and adored each other, often did things for good. A lot of them had to do with the fundraiser. Okay, so we got some new ministers, and without going into too many details, let's just say all of that came to an end. It was kind of something they didn't see as necessary. Let's just make it simple. And so there was so much grieving among the group of people, But there was such a desire for us to stay connected. Nancy, you were there too. There was such a desire for us to stay connected to each other, and there was an energy of love that went above and beyond our singing together. It was so much more than that. And so we're doing our grieving. We're calling each other all the time and venting and crying and healing together, all this kind of stuff. But we knew we wanted to stay united. We knew we wanted to do something together. And so there is a point to the story. So the next thing, I was like thinking about all these people finding a new spiritual home because they didn't feel comfortable to stay there. Many of them did not. And so, I was thinking about, this one's going to this type of church and this one's going to this place. And I thought, but all of us, and I was starting thinking of the commonality of religion and all of that, and that bumper sticker you see that says, kindness is my religion, that it came back to that for me, is that's what they all have in common in practice. In practice, if we do any of them in practice, it all boils down to how are we treating each other? How are we being there for each other? How are we seeing ourselves as one? How are we showing up in this world? And it's not what happens to us, it's how do we react to it? A little tiny thing can happen and just send you through the roof, or you can have a huge thing happen and be able to move through it with grace. And sometimes that's true of the same person in the same week, right? So it's like how it's not so important, the circumstances, as much as it is, how do we play that out? How do we play that hand? How do we connect with I see you? I think that's something we forget, is as we're moving through our world and we get so busy and we can mean well, but we forget to really look someone in the eye, be present in that moment, and we need to feel seen, just seen. It's so simple. I see you. I see that you're a child of God. I see your beauty. I see your uniqueness. I see that you're contributing, even if I don't know everything about you. But just to honor that life, that spark of God that is in you, and how do I show up for that? Just to witness it. That word witness keeps coming up for me. That I witnessed I'm the last one standing in my original family, and so the last witness keeps coming through my mind of, I'm the one that knows the family jokes. I'm the one that knows the family vacation stories. I'm the one, that kind of thing. But we're also, how are we showing up as witnessing the beauty? What if all that incredible beauty were out there in Arizona and New Mexico and nobody ever saw it? Would that just be a shame that it exists? It exists. And yet somehow I think God would, for how many years was it there and nobody did see it, right? But it existed, and it was towards a purpose of life. It was just living. There's so much we don't know. And that's why I love to stay curious. There's so much. What was there first? What grew there first? What were the first witnesses? So that word witness keeps coming up for me. Okay, so I digress. So the whole thing about when I was thinking about kindness, and really kindness was my religion, how do we interconnect? How do we get this group to connect? So I thought, and I was thinking about Sky because of the kindness, that whole story that happened. So I call up Neil, who was our spiritual director, or our musical director, and Deja, who would often, she would direct other plays that were not musicals, et cetera, and Neil's wife, Patricia, who has since passed. I said, can we have dinner? I have a thought. And we got together, and I said, obviously, we were all trying to look for a way we can get together. And I said, it's around kindness. I know that. I know we're a group, ultimately, we're a service group. What if we put together a group based on acts of kindness? There's no way to fail, right? Because the second you extend, it can be the smallest act of kindness, and it's a complete and wonderful act. Or it can be a big thing, because look what you did for Sky, and everything in between, and the ideas and creativity and love that this group has to offer. What if we kind of pulled all that together into something? And Neil, being the leader he is, was like, yes. I say yes. Well, I've been looking for something just like this. I felt like Sky was the first, not the only. Yes, we can do this. And so we called it Kindship, and this group formed, and we started having meetings, we started having events, we would raise money, we did funding, we sent a guy, this young man who had the most incredible voice, operatic, and he had been accepted at Juilliard, and he had his tuition, but he didn't have enough to live on, so he was going to have to turn it down. And it was through a friend of a friend of a friend, someone that was in the group was friends with his moms and said, this was happening just by word of mouth. And we went, we can do that. And we had an event called Give Juilliard a Chance, because his name was Chance. And he sang, and we had other performers, and we had other people who came, and we made it possible for him to go. This man now travels around the world singing opera, and we were able to be a part of that. And then we've taken up collections when someone lost everything in a fire. We've helped people in small ways and big ways, and I think it just made each of us more mindful of wanting to live from that place. And the reason I tell you this is twofold. One, I'm very aware, because of what has just gone through, what I'm going through with my brother, that one kind word, please do not dismiss how much that means to somebody. You have no idea. Sometimes a hug in the right place can be everything. I've had someone I barely knew hug me. They might think at the wrong time. It was the right time for me, and I burst out crying, and suddenly they're holding this person they barely know, and that was my moment where I needed to let go, You just never know. You never know what that kind word will do. You never know. So just give of yourself. I believe kindness is when there's this love coming out of us, and we want to act on it, and it has nothing to do with what we're going to get back. It's just this overflowing. We were talking about this dam of emotions, of abundance that is overflowing, where you want to act on this good that you're feeling. And I think it's putting out good in the world. Do not discount those small acts. And then your mind gets excited about it, and you might get creative to do something big, or just to join in with someone else who has a great idea. But do not dismiss it. And so I wanted to tell you specifically about Kindship, because we kind of took a break. We were still having monthly meetings, and we would get together at least to have dinner together, if nothing else. And then we would have all these little projects that came to pass. And kind of through COVID, everything stopped, and then we just never really kind of got everything up and running again. And just recently we started having, we've had 2 now, monthly meetings, and Randy and I are just having them at our house right now. And so this group, I've felt ever since I met you guys and got to know the nature of this group, I just feel like you're already part of that group in my mind. And so I want to invite you to our next event. And that will be on the 17th. There's going to be a slide involved. But we have some dear, dear friends that are staying with us, Armand and Angelina, and they're singers. And they travel all around the country. And they're New Thought. They have just amazing music. And they're going to give us a house party. And it's going to be on May 17th. It's Friday night. And we have the details. We have flyers. But it's for Kindship. And it's, we want you to feel welcome. Nobody has to do anything. Nobody has to give anything. But if you come and show up and just feel like-minded individuals who want to participate and to find some place to plug in to do that. And just to feel the energy of people that are very accepting. That's why I see this group as part of that, because they're just loving, wonderful people, and that's how I see y'all. So please know you are welcome. All the details will be provided. But to the point, just love, just make, I think it was a Buddhist quote that talked about how sorrow carves out the bowl that now can contain that much joy. And I thought about that a lot with this experience, because it didn't restrict me, it expanded me. So I kept thinking, wow, if that really hurts, guess how much more joy I'm going to feel. we use what works, right? We pull those things out for what works for us. So it all can expand us. The joy, the love, the kindness, the acts of kindness. You're going to have ebbs and flows when you can give or receive, and please do receive, because then someone else gets to have the experience of giving. You're good, someone else didn't get to give. So we need to allow ourselves to have that flow. And so we can all be everything at the same time is my point. And it not necessarily be overwhelming if we're not struggling with that. If we're just letting ourselves sit with it. I'm sitting with amazing memories and joy from our trip. I'm sitting with amazing memories of my brother. And I'm sitting with the sadness. And it's all okay. There's no part of me that thought I wouldn't survive this. Not a single part of me. But just to know that the presence of God dwells in all of it. The presence of God is never absent, not for a second. Couldn't be, because it's life. So let's take that into meditation. So wherever you are in your emotions at this time, your circumstances, your relationships, any of it, all of it, I'm seeing this great, huge altar of sacred space. And we're going and we're pouring our heart onto this, and we're emptying our pockets of everything, the joys, the sorrows, the fears, the doubts, the people for whom we have concerns. And we're laying it all on this sacred space. And there is more than enough room because God is unlimited. And just breathe through it. If another feeling comes up, if another feeling of pain comes up, if another feeling of joy comes up, we give it all to the arms of Spirit. There is no place we can be that God is not. Life is God. We are life. So we know ourselves as these connected, integral beings, moving in and through the light, moving in and through life in all its glory. We make wise choices in our perception. We let ourselves consider when the struggle we're feeling might be optional. And when we just need to sit with it, hug on ourselves, let it just be for a moment. And we're not letting the grief move in and set up camp or decorate the walls or anything like that. We're not inviting it to come and stay, per se. We're just letting it be right now. And knowing that this too shall pass. And it will itself change and evolve. We sometimes feel if we don't resist it, it will take hold and become something worse. Rather, just letting it be whatever it is, and saying yes, and I know myself to be a being of love that treasures life in all its forms. And when the physical life has gone, I still love. I will always love my brother. We will always love all those ones who passed. I believe they still receive that energy, and I believe they still love on us. No walls with God where love and truth are concerned. The rest is but shadow, that we recognize it for what it is, that it's not the ultimate truth of our being. Forever creating, forever evolving, ever reaching, ever accepting, and moving on, ever changing. Because we were given free will, changing the way we choose to change. We give the meaning to how we were touched. We give the meaning to how we bless. And feel your throat relax. This is a seat of self-expression. And know that you express God in a myriad of ways. A kind word, a gesture, a smile, perhaps artwork or music, the written word, the spoken word. A million ways that we express light and life in the world. So we see that area, your throat, relaxing and accepting however you may show up in the world, and you may surprise yourself what that looks like, and you may shift and change, but it's always based and rooted in love and light. So we thank you, thank you, thank you, Great Spirit, Mother, Father, God, for the ability to embrace the all and say, it is good. It is good. Life is good. We each may say, I am the light of the world. We together, the light of the world. God through us, lighting it up, turning it on, and filling it with divine experiences. And we are in awe of what is created. We let this be the truth of our being and our experience. And we thank you, God, that it is so. And into this energy of peace, may we pour in the names of those ones that we would know this truth for in this time.